Welcome to VintageTech, the show where we talk about old technology that are popular, recognizable, or obscure. Now, for this episode, we're going to do something a bit different today. I'm going to show you how I make an episode of VintageTech. Now, I said how I make an episode of VintageTech. Well, for my early episodes, I usually experiment with different ideas. But starting with episode 5, I actually did a more involved scripting. And starting with episode 9, things have changed. Now, the set for the episode is different depending on the type of technology. The making it remains the same. Now, I really need an old tech, and what to demonstrate is this toy, Merlin. Now, it was released during the 1970s, the late 1970s to be exact. But we will talk about it later once I show you how I make an episode of VintageTech. Now let's start. Okay, so the first things first I do is that I write the script. Now, how I write the script, those are for the narrations, which I'll do later. Anyway, I write the script first. But I need to do my research before I start scripting. Now, I could find some different sources, but I use Wikipedia, which, by the way, is notorious for being vandalized, so if you want to find sources, find them somewhere else. Okay. Interesting. Let's see. Now, production of the script might take a few days to be done. I usually rely on two laptops. Like the laptop I'm writing the script on right now is actually my gaming laptop, or my other laptop, which is the Microsoft Surface Laptop Studio, which has a unique feature which I'll show you later when I'm about to edit the master scenes. And by the way, for those who don't know, I actually had to use the master scene process again because it's efficient and saves editing time when I do the main project. Alright, once I got the script ready, I'm going to record the audio. Now, I do audio recordings since the very beginning, but at the time only for episode 1. And the headset that I used was this one. This is a Splatoon 2 themed Splash Head headset that's based on the Squidfin hook cans. That was made for Nintendo Switch, but you can use it as a regular headset. Now, the way how it works is complicated, but I use this mic. And the audio quality was not that good. But then again, it's more of a gaming headset than you might think. Now, for episode 5, I use this. This is the Razer Kraken X headset. And this is the microphone I use for episode 5. And episode 8 for recording the audio for the mini disc. So if you're wondering why the audio quality sounds terrible, you know why. Then for episodes 7 and 8, I used the Razer Siren X. Now, shortly before episode 8 air, I got the Blue Snowball, which is the microphone I'm currently using. I use this for episodes 9 and 10, the two-part Nintendo DS episode. You won't believe how tough that episode was to put together. Now anyway, these microphones actually use a USB set. Now I know USB microphones for electrical interference, but I digress. Okay, I usually read out a script while recording the audio. Now I should do a standby. Okay, let me go to... Okay, stand by in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Merlin was invented by former NASA employee Bob Doyle, his wife Holly, and his brother-in-law Wendell Thomas. It was released by Parker Brothers in 1978. Merlin was known for being one of, if not the first, multi-game handheld to be released on the market. Okay, that's how I check to see if it's good. Okay, stand by in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Merlin was invented by former NASA employee Bob Doyle, his wife Holly, and his brother-in-law Wendell Thomas. It was released by Parker Brothers in 1978. Merlin was known for being one of, if not the first, multi-game handheld to be released on the market. Technically. Well, many handhelds up... if you're wondering why there's some background audio... Fortunately, this blue snowball has some switches, and sometimes the background might go through, so if you're wondering why it's there, you'll know why. Anyway, if you're wondering why there's a space between each sentence, well, it's so that I can make editing work. But things that aren't in a sentence, I usually just clip them out. Let's see. By former NASA employee, Bob Doyle. I just, his wife, Holly, and his brother-in-law, Wendell Thomas. Yeah, that's how I edit it. What program I use? I'm using Audacity. And before anyone asks, yes, I am aware about what happened with Audacity, I think last year. I still have it installed on my computer, though. But I never bothered to update. Every so often, I might take breaks from production and do some other stuff. Like I do chores around the house and the property, to reading a book and such. And looking at things on my phone, such as memes. Now, this is the point where I record any B-roll footage needed. I usually have to... Well, it's going to be muted during production. Anyway, I just hold the tech up here like this, or I might even put them on a solid object so I can move the camera around. Now the thing here is that it has to be long enough so I can let the narration speak. Alright, this is a scene we're on a bed, which is where I place the technique if I'm going to demonstrate it or show it in the video. Mostly. Like in episode 7, that's where I put the GameCube on, and that's starting with episode 7. Episode 9 and 10, however, was the most troublesome. Anyway, looks like that's my cue to switch over to Simon. Okay, so this is the part where I usually shoot the tech by itself. Now, normally when I do this, I said it was episode 9, I usually have to wait 30 seconds. Because I record the audio from the script before I shoot the video, I usually wait at least 30 seconds. But since Merlin is a unique toy, I think I should abandon this just for this one. Anyway, alright. So this is the part where I add those scene masters. Remember, scene masters are the important things I use for every VintageTech episode. In fact, nowadays, even mine friends. The master scene allows me to save any time for this main project, so I can export different parts of it. And that's where most of the editing comes from. Now, I rely on external drives. In fact, all the source files were backed up on external drives for this video. And I edit on this laptop. This is called the Microsoft Surface Laptop Studio. What's it called to? Well, check this out. Did you see that? You can actually turn it to a stage mode, or even turn it into a tablet. Now, what program I use? Well, during the first 10 episodes, I used OneShare Filmora, which a lot of people are complaining that you'll have to pay to order a watermark, and I kinda see why. After revealing their true colors, I actually uninstalled the program. So I used Clipchamp for only one video, and that's Mud Friends in Link, Inkling, and the Rhinoceros. But I now use Magic's Movie Studio 2022. It's like Premiere Pro, but with less subscription and one-time purchase. Now, using Magic's is gonna be tough because I actually learned the hard way that the tracks below actually go above the top track rather than the other way around. I actually thought the track 1 was the one that goes behind front, but no, it really is the background. Yeah, you learn something new every day. Now, because I create master scenes first, this was really the most time-consuming part of making a VintageTech episode. Fortunately, Magic has the ability to create different movies, which means I can just use the same project to create my own scenes. Anyway, if you're wondering why there is space between the audio, it's so I can actually edit them out and trim the important parts. That usually applies if it's a sentence. Anyway, that's how I add the titles, and you can also add transition as well. By the way, remember to change the settings in Magic's Movie Studio, or else you won't pause where you were playing it. I mean, playing the project, that's what I meant. Now, I might even add these markers so I know where I can place a thing, like text and such. Keep in mind that not all video editors have this. Heck, even the program that I used for the previous My Friends episode, or rather, the 6th one, if this is uploaded later, uses Microsoft Clipchamp, which we all know is a browser program that requires a constant internet connection. Now, time to export the Scene Master to the main. I usually export them to the flash drive I use to store. Now, that was fast. Alright! Once I got all the master scenes done, it's time for the main event! I usually save the parts where I face the camera last. In fact, the rest of this video will be about the Merlin. Anyway, I did talk about it at the beginning. This is the toy that's used in the making of this episode. Anyway, now normally when I start an episode of VintageTech, I usually start by doing some bragging rights and such. But since I talked about it in the beginning of this, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Let's talk about history. Merlin was invented by former NASA employee Bob Doyle, his wife Holly, and his brother-in-law Wendell Thomas. It was released by Parker Brothers in 1978. Merlin was notable for being one of, if not the first, multi-game handheld to be released on the market. Technically. While many handhelds up to this point have multiple games, they're all variations of the same game. During its first 3 years on the market, Merlin sold around 2.2 million units, which is substantial considering the top-selling toy at that time was Milton Bradley's Simon, also released in 1978. Funny enough, both Merlin and Simon would later be owned by Hasbro. Wait, Doyle! Where have I heard that name before? I'd rather not talk about it. I don't think they're really in. Yeah, it's shocked that a NASA employee, a foreigner, would invent this. Did he steal it to programmers? I think that's possibilization. Anyway, let's talk about the toy itself.
Merlin is around 9.5 inches long and 3 inches wide, and weighs around 250 grams. And that's without the batteries inserted. Merlin is powered by Texas Instruments TMS 1100, a variant of the TMS 1000. The same CPU that powers both Texas Instruments' own Speak and Spell and Merlin's competitor, Simon. On the front, we have a speaker and 15 buttons. 11 of them are the LED lights for the games, numbered 0 through 10. 4 of them are the game selection and control switches. New game, which lets you select another game. Same game, where it lets you play the game again. Hit Me, which is only used for one game. Finally, there is Comp Turn, which functions in different games. On the left, we have a power switch to turn a unit on or off. On the right, we have a power port for an optional AC adapter. Then finally, on the back, we have a battery compartment for inserting 6 AA batteries. Okay, time to turn the system on and talk about the games. The first game is Tic-Tac-Toe, a simple game that has lots of fun. The flashing light represents player 1, while the solid light represents Merlin. It's a simple game. Make your move first, then press the comp turn button for Merlin's move. If you want, though, you can do the opposite. Now, because of how Merlin works, you can pretty much cheat by not hitting the comp turn button and doing 3 in a row in one move. Yeah, technology at the time was pretty, not reliable.
Tic-tac-toe? That's simple. You just need a pencil and a paper to do that.
The next game, which isn't really a game per se, it's actually a utility called Music Machine. It allows you to make a composition of up to 48 notes and rests. This game makes Merlin one of the earliest digital sequencers and an early consumer-level digitizer. Merlin's instruction manual has 20 songs it can compose for it. One thing to point out is that 0 is used as a rest note.
Yeah. Now you think about it, Merlin being a music machine, someone should really compose an original tune with this device.
The third game is called Echo, which is similar to Simon, in which you have to repeat the patterns. It's very similar to Simon, so I won't explain it. The fourth game is Blackjack 13. Now, all the games we talked so far are simple games, but this one is a bit more advanced. The objective of the game is that you need to get a hand of 13 or less. The better hand, to be exact. The blinking light is your hand, while the steady light is Merlin's. This game makes extensive use of the Hit Me button. Use it on your turn to get another card. If the card total is less than 13, hit again, or press the comp turn button to quote-unquote stand. Now, that's the point where Merlin can hit or stand. If he busts, you win a chip. Keep playing till you win 10 chips or lose them all. The fifth game is called Magic Square. The goal of the game is to light up all of the squares except for the number 5, 0, or 10. When you press a square, it can turn on or off. It also affects any adjacent square as well. For example, square 1 affects squares 2, 4, and 5. Turn any or all of them on or off. Once you made the magic square, you win.
However, in case the gameplay looks familiar to you, you might have seen it in another title you saw from a game system. That's right! The game Magic Square inspired Lights Out for the infamous Gamecom. Funny enough, Hasbro later acquired Tiger Electronics. Wow. Now, when you think of Lights Out, you think of the ability to solve a puzzle. Well, to be fair, Lights Out was one of the most well-known games for the Gamecom. So, I guess when people think of Lights Out clone, they think of the Lights Out clone. But we'll talk about that later.
The final game is called Mind Bender, which is similar to Mastermind or some similar game. In this game, you have to guess a secret code. Now, the code is different depending on the number you selected after pressing 6. Enter random numbers to guess. Now, if you get a correct number, the LEDs will either blink or be solid. If an LED is solid, then the number is correct, but in the wrong position. If an LED is blinking, then it's both the correct number and position.
Alright, that's all the games featured on this 1978 Merlin. But this is not the only one of its kind. There are 2 other models released throughout the years.
In 1982, Parker Bros. Released Master Merlin, which is an updated version of the 1978 Merlin with more games. Then, in 1995, Parker Bros. Released Merlin, the 10th Quest. That version has 9 games built in, and forgoes the LED buttons in favor of a traditional LCD. That model shows how technology improves over time. However, by the time the 10th Quest arrived, the Nintendo Game Boy dominated the handheld gaming market with its interchangeable games. Now, as you're collecting a Merlin toy, keep in mind that it's a very ancient electronic and it may or may not work. Like, my model, has some power issues, but thankfully it works, and has some corrosion on battery contacts. A note to collectors, the models sold in France have the comp turn button renamed to Merlin, which I guess is fitting because you are playing against that system. If you have trouble finding a working Merlin, then you can go for the 2004 re-release by Hasbro under the Milton Bradley brand. Yeah, it's bizarre that Hasbro would re-release Merlin under Parker Brothers' former rival. Oh, the irony. Now, that release is the same as the 1978 model, but puts numbers on where would the 11 LED buttons be. Speaking of which, all the buttons use raised keys instead of the capacitive ones from the original version. Oh, I forgot to mention that the original 1978 and Master Merlin used capacitive touch sensors for all of their buttons. At the time, that was more advanced than regular switches, and they don't wear down over time. Technically they do, but whatever. Nowadays, most smartphones, touchscreens, and the trackpads on most laptops are capacitive. And if you don't have any cash right now to buy Merlin, you can actually play this emulator online!
Well, Merlin is a very interesting toy. One of the first multi-game handhelds that predates the Nintendo Game Boy. Or, more accurately, the Milton Bradley Microvision, as that was the first system with interchangeable cartridges. Now, ironically, a bit off topic here, but the Microvision is what inspired the Game Boy and Game & Watch. Now, Merlin was really one of the top toys of its time. And unlike Simon, Hasbro has not yet made a newer version of it since 2004. If they do make a newer version, it was called Merlin Strikes Back. Hasbro's better than Mattel in terms of their properties. Yeah. Now, a bit back into making this. Now, I usually put them between the master scenes. The trouble is, when making these, I have to pretend I have to, you know, how I do a master scene. I had to look at my computer, my gaming laptop, to see a script of me facing the camera and whatnot. But anyway, guess that's it for this episode of VintageTech. I need to get a drink. Oh, by the way, the next episode is going to be about the speak and spell. Anyway, make sure you don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and ring the sorry, I forgot the one down. Anyway, I'll see you later.